Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to Wednesday's 24/7 daily report. Not the busiest of days today as far as transfers go. Of course, yesterday we had a bit of movement with Sandro Ramirez. I mentioned heavily yesterday that he was heading to Valladolid and that deal was concluded later last night, albeit only on a season loan, unfortunately. He followed Brendan Galloway out of the club yesterday, with the latter completing his move to Luton Town. As far as today is concerned, there can only be one headline, and that is the leaked images of our new home kit for next season. The kit was meant to be released tomorrow morning, but leaked images have become available courtesy of Todo Sobre Camisetas, the Spanish site famous for its early kit leaks of just about beating the club to the punch, here with about 12 hours in it, and the images shared around social media have been met with mixed reviews, as shown on our own Toffee Blues Twitter poll, where about 53% of you gave the home kit the seal of disapproval. I'm going to sit firmly on the fence with this one, as it seems most of the fan base is. It's not great, but I actually think it's one of Umbro's best since they took over again in 2014. Last season's was pretty good, but prior to that I thought they were pretty unimpressive. So even if that's not saying much, I do think it's okay. But given the impressive aesthetics on many of Umbro's other strips, the likes of West Ham and Hull springing to mind, they've got some pretty impressive designs this season. When compared to those, I think our design looks a bit lazy, maybe, like a lot less time went into designing it. And I think that may well be due to the delayed signing of the new kit deal. The extension was only signed in March. Maybe these plans have been in the pipeline for a long time. I don't know. Grievance is over. I do think it's an acceptable kit. It's far from the worst one we've ever had, by if I can name a few. But the more I look at it, it does grow on me, I'm not going to lie. And rest assured, a couple of good performances by the lads wearing it will really help it grow on me no end. On that note, what new players can we expect to see pull on that shirt? Well, today's rumour mill threw up a couple of new names for us. Two of those names came courtesy of one of the seemingly endless list of Turkish media outlets, and this is Fanatic we're talking about this time. Both of these players played in Turkey last season, and the first one is by far the more exciting one. That is the Egyptian winger Trezeguet, or no relation to the French striker, but he is impressed for an otherwise largely underwhelming team called Kasim Pasha, who barely stayed up in the Super League last season. However, his good performances for them alongside Salah and co for Egypt at the World Cup, and now more recently the African Cup of Nations, which is still going on right now, those performances have apparently led to interest from Everton, Watford and Aston Villa. He is a quick and tricky winger, and while he may be able to offer us something, he is, like I say, he's got a bit of flair about him, but nothing that our current plethora of wingers haven't got, and I can't, that's for that reason really, I can't see us fighting tooth and nail to tie this guy down to Everton. I think he may well move to the Premier League, but I don't think it'll be to Goodison. Now, if you thought that was a bit underwhelming, the second link to Everton from Turkey today is Badou Ndiaye, who's been playing alongside Idrissa Gueye, again at the AFCON for Senegal. But I find this highly unlikely. He's a similar player to Ghana, albeit he actually plays second fiddle to him for Senegal. He's 28. And to top it all, he's already had an ill-fated spell in the Premier League, very recently with Stoke City. He played the second part of their season where they got relegated, and then he refused to play for them in the Championship before he was loaned back to Galatasaray in the Turkish Super League. Sound good? Thought not. The idea of us signing a 28-year-old Stoke City failure for 15 million is quite frankly enough to make me stomach turn. Odds are Marcel Brands doesn't think too differently, and I don't think he probably hasn't even looked at this lad, I'll be honest with you. And if we know what's good for us, we'll continue not to. Far under pushing the realms of complete insanity. Staying with a few central midfielders now, but we're on the outgoings, and one is Joe Williams, who in the last couple of hours it's become expected that he could leave. His contract is up at the end of this season, and now teams from both the Championship and the Bundesliga are showing interest in our young midfielder. He was on loan at Bolton last season, and as I've said before, he has impressed, despite how poorly Bolton did. And I think now is the time for him. I'd much prefer him to, if he is to leave, I'd like him to go to the Bundesliga, given it's got a much better track record for helping youngsters to kick on than the Championship has. If he does go to the Bundesliga. He'll be following Joe Kenny from Goodison to Germany, with Kenny already sealing a loan to Schalke this summer. Moving on, and Phil Jagielka has just left us in the last few weeks, of course, but he's training with Burnley to try and maintain his fitness. There's no concrete deal there. He's yet to sign a contract, and he's yet to sign for any team since he left Everton. On the other end of the age spectrum is a young defender, Joe Anderson. He plays for our under-18s, and he's just signed a new 2-year contract today with the club. And he's saying he looks to progress into Dave Unsworth's under-23s for this season. So the best of luck to Joe ahead of the new season. Now, I'm going to finish with his older namesake, and of course by that I mean the Mayor of Liverpool, Joe Anderson. He's come out today and said a new stadium and a development on the Bramley Moor Dock would help secure the future of the city, and he is more than prepared to let the city lose its UNESCO World Heritage Site status if that is necessary. This has sparked a bit of debate on a number of platforms today, one of which, to nobody's surprise, of course, was Roger Phillips' phone-in, once again. But good on Joe Anderson for coming out and saying this. He gets some stick for some of the urban regen projects he's overseeing as mayor, and in many cases, rightly so. But this shouldn't be one of them. I think it's in everyone's best interest that we do up the Bramley Moor Dock, certainly in Everton's, of course. Not only will it add to our growing tourist economy, but it will create jobs in both the short and long run. I think most people can see how this kind of development offers far more to our city than any certain certificate could. And surely it's only the most bitter of Reds that must be willing to go against this for their own anti-Everton agenda. But from our perspective, I think Joe Anderson coming out and being so outspoken about this should be a good message to any naysayers. We've got a bit of a pessimistic fan base, let's be honest. But as far as I'm concerned, this statement only makes me more confident that the stadium's a goer now at the Bramley Moor Dock, and hopefully, like I've said, that planning permission will be sorted by the end of 2019, and from there on in we can look forward to a new home on the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey. Well, I thought to end on a high there. That's that for today's news roundup. Be sure to give us your opinions on these topics, particularly on that new home kit. Let us know what you think in the comments section below about that particularly. And until then, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues.